Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ryan. Do I have Ryan, brother? Let me try. Um, yes. Did he mean to invite him again, Maya? There he goes. Ah! I have Mr. Williams on here. Hi, brother.
Hey, sister.
I can't
What's
hear
up?
you, sir.
You can't?
I can't hear you.
You can't? Hold on.
Now I can hear you.
You... Oh, shit. Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can. Good evening and welcome to The Real with Mill. Woo! We're back. We're back. Did you really just raise the roof? Okay. Anyway, tonight the topic is suicide. And I have the music playing softly in the back. A song by Maverick City, correct, Samaya? It's her favorite little group. Group. It's a mighty group, actually. Mighty Group in God. And it's titled Keep Praying. And this is going right into what we're talking about tonight. Suicide. It is such a serious topic. Such a serious topic. Within our current days, we have now witnessed many people that we can say that are in a position of being blessed to be in the forefront, right? And honestly looked as if like their lives were okay. One being that really stood out to me that actually made my heart bleed was Regina King's son. To see his smile, to see them interacting with one another. Can you turn the music down just a little bit? Thank you, baby. To see them interacting with one another, and then knowing that she just had a birthday some days before, and then when you go to social media and you see an actress that we have so much respect for and that you admire so much, feel like you like grew up watching her experience such a heartache of a situation, to lose your child and then to suicide. Oh my God. And he literally looked so happy, right? Like, Big, why would he do that? You know, what led him to that? That's what went through my mind. Then we have the model that was, 30 years old that recently took her life.
The
And her mother said
ex
that she
Miss
was
USA.
functioning. I'm sorry, sir.
Was it the ex Miss USA or something?
I know she competed in pageants. I'm not for certain, so I don't want to speak on what I don't know exactly. But if I know that she did compete in pageants, and her mother said that she was functioning depression, like a depression or a depressed person and functioning, you know. And the only thing that came to my mind was The Real with Mill has to touch on this. Like we can't, I can't sit and act as if like suicide is not a problem that needs to be discussed, and it cannot just happen within one session. So we'll get to that later on. Now many of us feel as if like, a person that commits suicide, they're weak. Why would you do something like that? You should know that your life is worth living. If you had that type of idea before COVID, I probably would have entertained that conversation. But with now experiencing being isolated, experiencing looking over your shoulder, whether you're feeling as if like you are going to be robbed or mugged, raped in some cases, or stay in a house because if someone says hello, they could give me COVID, right? Or if I catch COVID, I'm going to die, right? We are afraid to go everywhere. And brother, even on this evening, I went to the grocery store, I went to Walmart, and there was a man standing outside asking for money. And again, I'm looking over my shoulder, like I'm playing games as I'm going to my car, circling in and out so he can't trace my steps because I'm by myself. So if I go to work, I work with children, it's like, baby, hold your mask up. Hold your mask up. I don't want to catch COVID, right? I don't want to bring anything back to my daughter. These are scary times we're living in. So if you can't put yourself in the mindset of someone that actually might think about giving up and being done with it all, I really want to ask you, what kind of mind do you have of not being empathetic, especially if you call yourself a believer? You know, this is not the season to judge people for doing something that you necessarily wouldn't do. It has literally made the strongest of cities crumble. Don't ever think that you're too strong where it won't come to your door. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are functioning while being depressed, just as that young lady was. And it's unfortunate. But a lot of us are smiling. And when we get home at night, you look in that pill container, you thinking like, man, I could just sleep through it and I won't have to deal with it anymore. Correct? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. Is Millie suicidal? I don't need y'all calling on my mother. You don't got to call Niecy and tell her to keep me on the watch. Okay? Have I ever thought about it before? Yes. I have thought about it before. And it was before COVID. And we'll get to, brother, I don't want to take up your time if you want to speak. You want to keep going? Because then I'll give you the floor.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. All right. You always listen and you respond. You always help me out. He's one of the reasons why my mind won't go there now, because God sends people like him, which we'll get to that later. Okay. Now we have the reported signs of suicide. If you guys are wondering, how is there someone around me? Am I suicidal when I don't even know? When you begin to feel as if I don't wake up tomorrow, all my issues will be solved. All right. If you hear someone that you are close with speak in such a way like, man, I'm just about to kill myself. Man, this life ain't even worth it. Man, these MF was really bothering me. Man, if I'm the problem, next week you won't see me no more. I won't have to deal with you at Christmas. You know, that's the major holiday just passed. If they're speaking such as not being here within the next 30 days, if you see that they are giving you a goodbye and you're like, what you saying? What you being so weird for? I'm about to see you tomorrow. If it's things that are out of their character, you want to watch those signs. And especially if they have become very quiet into themselves. All right. Some of the major causes of suicide is mental illness. Mental and physical illness is the major cause. We can just stick on mental. Mental illness is the major cause of suicide. You wonder, which form? Bipolar. See, and I have to touch on this, Brian, because I remember when I was younger, which wasn't that long ago. When I was younger, we would laugh at people that were bipolar. Like, girl, this man bipolar. He crazy, right? It was a joke. And unfortunately, in our families, we have continued to make it a joke, not realizing that some of those people that are battling that illness, that mental illness, they are at high risk for suicide, are at high risk for it. So yes, I had to repent of that. I had to ask God, Lord, please forgive me, because I was speaking out of ignorance. One of my uncles and I just had a conversation, I believe just yesterday, about how we don't realize the words that we're using and we misuse them. And honestly, it takes away from the sensitivity of the word and the effect of it. You know, to be bipolar is not something to be laughed at. Honestly, you should tread light. Now, you should treat them regular. I'm not saying, whatever, but don't scorn or taunt that person and make them say, I'm not understood. I'm just going to stay away from everybody because I'm bipolar. I'm so crazy. When you do things like that, you're pushing them into a feeling of rejection. And let me just end it. What do I have to live for? My family doesn't understand me. My friends do not understand me. Let me end it. Correct? Right?
Yeah.
The second sign, hopelessness. When people feel hopeless, All right. Now, a loss of a job could do that. The ending of a marriage could do that. A child that is defiant could do that. And you are like giving all of you to that situation or those people. And it seems like the more I give, the more they reject. I feel hopeless, right? That could put that's suicide. Hi, my Mary. All right. Then we have the feeling like a burden. I'm pretty sure men probably fall in that category, right? Because in most cases, men are your workers, you're independent. You don't want to feel like a burden on anyone. So if you lost your job, if a person has lost their job recently, be careful. Be careful with them. Watch how you talk to them, especially in the climate of our world right now. If it's something that they were doing and then they fall or it falls off, be careful with these situations. Women, right. Postpartum depression, be careful of that. If you had a Coke bottle shape and now all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, I just gained all this weight. I don't have the help at home like I did because he's always at work or he's not around. I mean, it's a lot of things that lead you to feeling like a burden because you can't contribute to a situation as you once did. Be careful with that. And it's not just a little thing. It's chronic. It's like a chronic, like every time you turn around, Dad, you just asked me to get your nails done. Now you want your hair done. You know, a woman, the man could be having a hard day, right? But a woman hearing that after she just gave birth, she already is not feeling her best. I'm just telling you, postpartum depression is real. So please be careful with that. When you can feel like a burden. Stressful situations go right hand in hand with that. Feeling like a burden, stressful situations. And then lastly, because I want to hear my brother, he has a lot of wisdom inside of him, isolation. Now, I had to step back and say, whoa, isolation. COVID really did it. And I was looking for numbers, and Brian can attest to this. I was looking for a current statistic to just show what has grown from 2019 to now 2022. And honestly, they don't have it. I wasn't able to locate it. He even challenged me with it. And I'm like, bro, it's stopping at 2019. I think it's been so chronic that maybe our government does not want to release the numbers to it. That could be possible. I'm not sure. But the numbers are pretty high, just what we can see around us. The news is reporting what we're not wanting to, let's say, really take into account. Why? Because we have been in isolation. I'm sure the divorce rate has increased. Also, marriages have increased, though, too. I would have to say that goes into another topic of people are really starting to see and hone in on their purpose. And either this situation is for my purpose or not, or this situation is for my purpose or not, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going, I'm telling you, it's a lot of changes that are occurring right now in this COVID season. It is. And isolation, I'm pretty sure, even though it's number 5, isolation has led people to want to commit suicide. Put yourself in the mindset of people that are in jail. Brother, I got 2 more minutes. Put yourself in the mindset of people that are in jail. Think about how it feels to be locked up as a caged animal. Now, if you have COVID, even though, you know, your living situation is much better in some of our cases than prison would be, but when you can't go outside, you can't breathe in that fresh air, you can't even hug anyone for 2 weeks, I just experienced it. And I almost lost my mind because I am so social and I couldn't even hug my baby. And she's in the same house with me. I was literally about to go crazy. I sat in my bed and I bugged him. I bugged all my other regular people that I talk to all the time. And I got on their nerves. They wouldn't answer the phone no more. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in jail. I'm isolated. And that's what happens when you're isolated. Your mind turns in on itself. So, oh, don't trip. I've come up with book ideas. I've come up with all these different things. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I was working, but then you like, okay, after I've done that, what else is there to do? And then you have to turn in on yourself. And this goes into that mental illness because all of us don't deal with our problems the right way. So now that we have to face ourselves, we could feel hopeless, doing that isolation even more, burdened, stressed. Now, let me end it. Because what do I have to live for? Hope I set the stage well for you, Brian. I'm sorry, but when I got going, I just it just came out. Sorry.
Listen,
All right.
I know when you go, you go. So
I love you,
that's
Brian.
not a problem.
Leave me alone.
And especially with the situation that we're dealing with on the suicide. You know, the one thing I thought about, you know, after we got off the phone, I thought about Robin Williams
Oh.
when he committed suicide. Um, oh yeah, she go.
God
um,
bless you, Dwayne. And Kiki,
I
I'm
thought
praying for
about
you.
I thought about Robin Williams when he committed suicide, and a lot of times we don't see the signs or we don't know how to recognize the signs. Um, you think about a man that um, brought us laughter from the 70s all the way up until his death, sits in his room one day, hangs a noose in his closet,
Wow.
and hangs himself. Um, you never know what's behind a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think one of the problems that we face as Christians is that we lack discernment in that area.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of other things. I can discern that you got problems at your home. I discern that you broke, or I can discern, you know, we discern superficial things, but things of the heart, we seem not to have that honed in skill that God has given us to recognize
Wow.
something is serious as a person that is in that state. And I can say that I'm not going to say we've all been there. I know I've been there. And you'll always see me smiling. You'll always see me laughing. You'll always see me singing or doing my music or doing whatever. But behind all that is a reason. Um, I think God gave me those things to keep me from going that extra step.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that extra step. They don't have that extra hobby, that extra comfort. Um, Even when it comes to, you know, at home, when you're talking about isolation, um, I think this COVID thing really opened up people's minds to whether they want to live or whether they want to die, especially when they're talking about this is something that we're going to be living with. You
Right.
know, we're going to live with COVID, and it's, you know, it's
Or the
basically
vaccination
incurable.
state, or to be scared to be
Yeah,
vaccinated or not. You know.
yeah, yeah. So we're sitting in a time, one, that
You're welcome.
it's uncertain to us. Two, it causes you to isolate, which isolation a lot of times causes you to overthink.
Whew.
Most times when you're sitting by yourself and you're overthinking,
Mm.
that causes you to fall into a depression.
Yes.
And when you fall into a depression and you're isolated and you're not tuned in, maybe, and you can't tune in or hone in. I don't want to make this a religious thing, but you know, it's just real for me. And you're not so much tuned in to God because everything else is going around you. You only have you and these four walls. It's easier to take that way out
Mm-hmm.
uh, because you don't see another way. Fortunately, um, a lot of us have um, I don't want to say different, like we have family and friends that, we can call, like you will call me morning, noon and night. So,
Don't forget
whether you get on,
midnight.
right, I forgot midnight. And you know what? Even though sometimes I'm like, this girl again, I'm
And all I be
happy,
thinking is, I hope I ain't messing nothing up.
right?
Brother.
But but you right, but I'm still kind of thankful because that I'm an outlet.
Yeah.
Because what if I wasn't able to be an outlet and you were just sitting there and it's you and my baby girl at home and I'm not there to be able to do anything? Maya can't, do anything because she doesn't have that wisdom yet. She doesn't know how to
Yeah.
do that yet. Um, so, I thank God that I can be that. I thank God that I have that. Unfortunately, there are so many people that are dealing with this mental health issue
Yes.
that is causing them to say, you know what, I want out. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with them anymore. My spouse doesn't understand. My children don't understand.
Yeah.
My supervisors don't understand. My church doesn't understand. So nobody understands me. They don't get where I am. And the reality is we don't. We really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now you're into a situation where it's your situation, and a bunch of people that love you and you love, but they don't get it. There's a disconnect.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that disconnect can cause you to be so heavy that it makes you make an instant decision that ends your life and suffers others.
Yeah.
You know, um, the rate, I think they said it was like 3 points. It's like for men, it's a 3-to-1 ratio on suicides. Yeah, men have it heavy, and I'm talking as a man. Yeah, let me say this: men who are active and men that want better, they're
Mm.
really striving for better. They have it literally, to me, the worst. And I'm sure women as well. You're not in the financial position that you want to be in. You're not maybe in the greatest health situation that you want to be in. You're not probably in the great mental headspace that you want to be in. So many different factors to that, but it's amazing how you can still walk every day with this type of mentality. You can still walk every day, and God keeps you.
Mm.
Now, we said we wasn't going to make this super religious,
But
but
you
I've
can't
got
help
to
but
go
talk
with
about them, right?
I got to go with the experience because the
Yeah.
only person that kept me from taking myself out of here was
It's
God.
God. Yes, sir. Me
And
too.
this is personal experience. I know it was nobody because he had to let me know. And I think a lot of times we're so busy that we can't hear God. But when he has to do something drastic to say, hey, slow down.
He will
I've got
do
a
it.
purpose for you.
He will do
I
it.
got a purpose for you, you know. But again, unfortunately, we're busy. We're so busy, not so much productive, but being busy, not so that we don't just sit around and overthink.
And but then, bro, not I'm not interrupting because I enjoy
Go
listening
ahead.
to understand you. I also believe that people are busy or they make themselves busy as a way to run away from themselves. Mm-hmm. I really feel that when you are in isolation, as I said, your mind is turning in on you. Oh, I need to read that about the triggers. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Larkinson, for commenting. When your mind is turning in on you, now you have to face yourself. A lot of us do not want to face ourselves. It's when
Mm-hmm.
you are made to deal with you, and honestly, like it all compatible. You can't blame a family member. You can't blame a friend. You can't blame it on your parents from what,
Yeah.
we literally have, think about this, Brian, and I know I talk about your age a lot, right? But we have people that are we have people that are within your generation, right? Within your age that are still blaming their parents for things that happened when they were 5 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
they are parents now. Some of them are grandparents. And you're sitting, you like, wow, you have a lot locked up in you. So when you are made to sit and your mind now has to turn up on itself, what if our cell phones were removed? And we didn't have a cell phone, we didn't have social media, you didn't have anything to do but what we used to do back in the day was when you had the phone on the wall and
Mm-hmm.
anyone in the house could pick up and listen to your conversation. You see what I'm saying? When you had
Yeah.
to honestly just deal with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even writing, just different things, getting it out of you. We don't really have those outlets. Or no. We still have them. I'll let me piggyback. They have not went anywhere. We just went away from it. That's just like we could say, God didn't leave you. You left God, right?
Mm-hmm.
We ministers, so we are always going to bring God into a conversation. That's just what it
Yeah.
is, okay? So
Yeah.
it's not so much that the people don't have any outlets. Our society and our community has set it up where the outlets are not cool anymore, not no longer considered. But maybe we should go back to that moment when there were no devices, making up for being mother and father. I think some of the coolest situations are when you talk to people that come from big families that in some cases they could not have all the gadgets and all the other fancy things, and they were their own entertainment. Like, sometimes you have to turn off the noise and just get
Yeah.
to yourself and really deal with you. Don't run away from the problem. Don't run away from the fight that just happened. If you are a married couple and you all just got into it, I'm not telling you to, act as if like everything's going to be hunky dory and perfect, but running away after a disagreement with devices, leaving the house with people, those are the things that get into those, they plant seeds of division. Ain't nothing growing from there. Ain't nothing growing from there. You're
But,
planning that I can run away from an issue versus deal with it.
but you
Retreating
know
is
what?
not the answer.
There's a song, and I'm a house head. Everybody knows that.
Your
There's a
generation.
song that's called "You Can't Hide from Yourself."
Mm.
Um, you can hide from a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you can't hide from you. So everything that you carry eventually is going to weigh on you unless you take the necessary steps to loose those weights.
Mm.
Um, and I think a lot of times we are so prideful and we try to be so secretive that we, and I can only, I'm using church, we have the face. We're great on having a face that everything's okay, the house is okay, the marriage is okay, the kids are great. I'm coming to church and I'm gonna shout and dance and sing and all of this, and then you're going home to hell,
Mm. Mm.
you know? And it's so disheartening that people don't feel like they can be themselves.
And, and,
If the
and
church
then
is
and then still receive respect and acceptance. I,
what
oof. Go ahead,
how
bro.
about
Go.
just how about just how about just mere kindness,
Yeah.
mere empathy? And it's the fact that you go to these places that you think are supposed to be full of love, and they're not.
I
It's
see where
full
you're
of
going.
agenda.
I see where you're
It,
going with this, Mr.
it's
Williams. I
it's
see where you're
it's
going.
supposed to be full of love, but it's full of agenda.
Oh my Lord, I see where he going.
So
I'm reading your thoughts now.
why, how are people supposed to respond when the very places that they go, home, whether it's, church or
They're within
wherever,
their community.
within a community, that these are places that are supposed to be safe havens, to be my places of solace. If I can't go there and I can't even get a, hey, how you doing?
It's three
Hey,
places in your community: school, church,
church.
home. They
Yeah,
work together. And if you
they,
go to
they
all of
do.
these places and you don't even receive a hello, when you walk in your home, you should be greeted and you should greet. When you walk into your school, same thing. When you walk into your
Mhm.
church, same thing. And
Yeah,
let's be honest, we've all been in situations where that's not the
it's not,
case.
it's not there. At
Mm-mm.
least have one. Can I have one of the three? But then again, that's, and Kiki, you said something. You said it. Reactions and actions are powerful, and they are.
Mm.
You know, we have to stop acting like people are bothering us. Sometimes I've witnessed this, that a person can simply
Good
speak,
point,
say good
Angelique.
morning. They can simply just say good morning, and a person will look at them as like they bothering them.
But you
You
know
don't
what?
know what
But to the reverse of that, saying good morning to someone and smiling could actually keep that person from committing suicide. It's
you
been
don't know.
proven. Like,
Yeah,
all I needed to hear was someone. There have been studies done on people that tried to commit suicide but were not successful, and they said that if I would have heard at least one person smile and say good morning, if I would have heard just one, I would have turned around and not jumped. Think
one
about
kind
that.
voice,
Just
one
just
kind
kindness.
voice
Just
can
kindness.
save a life. And
Just kindness.
we've gotten away from kindness. Mere, not even, I don't, you know what? It ain't even kindness, just being cordial. We've gotten away from being cordial because we're so fearful of our surroundings, and we're fearful of people. We're fearful of everything. But how can you be a fearful people when you're in God? That doesn't, that's oxymoronic.
That's
You
right.
can't
That's
walk
like,
around fearful and not, which hurts your servanthood, which now prohibits you from being able to speak life into people. Um,
so thank you.
yeah,
Makes one feel
yeah,
special. That's right.
yeah. Thank you. We don't even do that,
Yep.
and
And that
we've
there
gotten
goes to
so,
that burden
yeah,
where you just want, sometimes you do so much. It's like, can someone just say thank you? Can I get a hug for something? You know? And to
yeah,
go where you're headed right now, bro, I believe in my spirit, right? To go where you're headed right now, I'm going to the religious institution that we have. I say this all the time. By me being a counselor, it's like it's an unspoken law. It was said to me in school, a counselor, every counselor needs a counselor. It's period. It's what it is. And at first I was sitting there like, I'm my own counselor. That's what I'm a counselor for. I'm in my, this in my head in class because I didn't like the professor. But anyway, we go back. And I'm saying my stuff in my head. However, now I
yeah,
realize every counselor better have a counselor because you are taking in, you are literally a garbage can and for so many human beings, and you got your own stuff that you still trying to work out. And if you allow yourself to constantly be burdened with things, you don't think suicide is going to come to your mind because you're going to feel hopeless. Spiritual
hmm,
leaders, right now, I'm telling you, you need book, common sense, streets must all work together. I agree with that. Spiritual leaders, if you are a spiritual leader, you do not have a therapist or a counselor, you are doing yourself a disservice.
disservice.
You need that. Why? Because you are a spiritual leader. You are a counselor. You are a servant. You are everything that the
Yes,
people of God need. That's what you should be. And if you're not being that, it's time to get on the wall. Period, point blank. And you need a therapist or a counselor. You cannot carry that cross by yourself. There was one Christ. One Christ. Allow Christ to be Christ. You're his sibling. Be who you are. You're not him. You can't carry that. And even Jesus had a moment in the garden. Even Jesus wanted to give up and walk away. You think you that strong? And pride will be your downfall. You need a counselor. You need someone to vent to. Someone that is unbiased, that is listening to you and not throwing in your face that you're a minister, not throwing in your face that you're an evangelist, that you this and you that. They are just literally there to look at you as a human being and meet that need. Then if you have that, when the people come into your church, wounded as they should, you can be of good service to them. You can't help nobody if you need help and you don't have nobody to at least like put some peroxide on your wound. How can you try to help someone else? And someone said pride and arrogance. I agree with that. Because unfortunately, because you are the spiritual leader, you want to walk around like, I woke up with God the other day and he gave me milk and honey. Stop. Grace and mercy has kept all of us on this planet. You not that good. I'm sorry. You not that good. And keep living. I want to say that to older people too. Y'all keep living. Think that what your works undid is opening up a door for you. You keep living. That self-righteous spirit is going to be the demise of many of us. You need a therapist. You need a counselor. Because when you face yourself, as Mr. Reverend Williams was just saying, when you face yourself, if you don't deal with it and take off that self-righteousness, it's going to eat you up alive. I'm not telling you what I'm assuming. I'm telling you what I know.
Yeah. But, you know, even with that, you know, leaders in any capacity, whether it be church, whether it be political, whether it be whatever it is, leadership in any capacity, if they're not seeking the help that they need, it's not just personal, but you're bleeding on the people that sit under you. And watch this. People can be bled on so long that the blood starts to resemble their skin color. They don't know the difference between being healthy and being clean. They start to look like blood. They start to smell like blood because they don't know anything other than what this individual is teaching them. So, you know, just like, you know, the pastors will tell you, you got to read this Bible for yourself. You know, you have to read it for yourself, but you also have to have your own mind. A leader can only give you so much. You have to want to be able to understand and think outside of the parameters of what you're being told. You know, they say my children suffer for the lack of knowledge. You can't be a sheep your whole life. You can't just walk around and get led and fed and not think for yourself for the betterment of yourself and yours. You know what I'm saying? There comes a time when you have to stand up because that supervisor, that pastor, that worship leader, that whoever, they're not going to be able to give you all the tools that you need to live, not to survive, but to live. So when we talk about suicide and why it's prevalent, especially in the church, it's because when you're stuck in tradition, and I know we're going to go into the part 2, when you're stuck in tradition tells you that therapy is a bad word. It tells you that going to counseling is a bad word. You have a mental illness is a bad word. So
right. Or it's exorcism. It's not a mental illness. In church, you have a demon in you. You know, that's a demon. My son is bipolar. That is they trying to change his matter. No, it's a mental illness. Stop laughing at it and saying it's a demon and you know, no. It's denial. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
But you know, it's taboo, especially in our community, to say anything about therapy and counseling, because not of what you think, because of what
What
everybody
others
else is
think
going to
about
think
you.
about you.
Yes, sir.
So your pride is going to prohibit you from getting what you need to live and accept what you're taking to die. So we have to change the mindset of therapy, of counseling, of letting someone in, because we hold so much. Yeah, we go through a lot, but we hold so much, so many weights on our shoulders that it's hard for us to even get up.
Thank you, Jesus.
So then what do you do when you can't get up? You lay down. You end it. You lay down. So we need to change the conversation um, about that. And I'm gonna get out of here because I got to do this session. But I just want to say, and if you're my friend on Facebook, you've seen me with this mental health awareness all 2022, yours, mine, and ours. Mental health is so important in this time. It's as important as your connection. Because if you're not healthy mentally, how can you be healthy spiritually? You can't. You've got to understand that there's more than prayer. Faith without works.
Go there, minister. Go there,
Faith
minister.
without works is dead.
Yeah.
That means that you have to do something. You have to make a step so that God can do what he's to do in your life. So, you know, it's dead. It's dead. So we have to move to a place where talking about mental issues, seen and unseen, because the majority of them are not seen, which is why most suicides are a surprise. They're surprised because you don't see them. It's not something that you can say, hey, they're going to commit suicide. That's not what that is. It's mostly internal. Um, can you break through it? Yes, like Kiki said, with a conversation, with
Because it
simply,
builds up over
yeah,
time.
yeah,
It's
it does.
unseen to us because many times we ignore the obvious. It's like someone ignoring red flags, so we call it. Oh no, they didn't mean nothing by that. They just we ignore so much and we chalk it up to not being as relevant because we don't like to deal with it. When you
Right.
notice different changes in your son, in your husband, in your wife, in your sister, in your mother, in your father, it's little changes. They're so subtle. So you have to
Hmm.
watch. Brian, if you ever called me up and was just nice to me, seriously, that's a sign. Every time we talk, boom, hello is I'm going
Yeah,
in. Period.
yeah,
That's what me and you do. We have that
yeah.
understanding. And that's what we are. But if you were ever not that, even for one day, I'm like, Maya, Uncle Brian wasn't right. Something ain't right. I've even asked you that. Like, brother, is
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
okay? Like, you being too nice to me today. And then, lo and behold, something would be a little off. I'm like, I knew it. No, Millie, don't joke with her right now. It's not good. Okay, cool. I'll talk to you later. Love you. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So there are little signs. So I can't just say that suicide is not seen. It's just some of us choose not to see it because of our own things that we have going on. And we are closing because I know you have to go to the studio and we're going to lead into what part 2 is going to be about. So I don't want you to leave before you say that, brother. But I do want to just give a quick testimony that I'm not giving out a name, but I received a text message as you were talking, and I looked at my watch and I read it. Just know that God used us tonight to encourage someone that felt like giving up, that literally had a suicidal thought today, but they got on and they seen the live and they are encouraged. Thank you, God. When I was over here saying thank you, Jesus, it wasn't because
Yeah,
I'm taking this situation light. Of course not.
yeah,
It's serious, you all. But I'm thanking Christ. I'm thanking Jesus. I'm thanking God, really. I'm thanking God that He led me and Minister Williams to speak up on this. Because again, people are smiling. You don't know what they're going through. you know, and we have to stand guard to say, what I say, Brian, you was like, well, let's just do it Saturday. I said, no, brother, we talked about
Yeah.
doing it tonight. We're going to do it
Yeah.
tonight. I know I'm impulsive. I know when I'm tenacious. When I say I want something, I want it. It's like, no, I'm not letting up. And usually I listen to you when you tell me to back down. But I'm like, nah, bro, we got to go on and
You,
say something. Right?
God was pulling on you.
And I'm
When he
happy
pulls
that
on
I was
you,
obedient.
yeah,
Thank you, God.
because
Thank
you
you,
know what,
God.
and again, because this situation, it's not an isolated situation.
No.
This
Thank you, God.
situation is bigger than even the individuals themselves know. People are walking around with mental issues, and they've been clothed in mental issue for so long that they don't even realize that they are mentally ill.
Thank you, Jesus.
And and
Jesus.
and it's so sad because, again, going back, it's so taboo to talk about, that people would rather, well, they would rather carry death
Mm.
than to put it down and live.
Wow. Just to keep
They would
people from talking about them.
just to keep other people who are truly irrelevant to your life and to your walk,
Yes, sir.
you would rather hold that and die
Yeah.
than to let it go and forget them and live.
Yeah.
And another thing that it sometimes it's not that we don't see it.
Thank you,
A
God.
lot of
Thank you,
times we
God.
don't want to see it because seeing it requires a responsibility.
To fix it.
When you seeing someone hurt is a responsibility added to that,
Yes, sir.
because there's something that you need to do, either you personally or even referring them, or whatever. We exactly, we ignore it because it's
Thank you,
easy.
God.
It's not my problem. I don't want to get involved.
Yes.
But at the same time, that goes against everything that servanthood is about. That
Thank
goes
you,
against
God.
everything we were ever taught.
Thank you,
You
God.
don't
Thank you, God. Thank
ignore
you, God.
your
Thank you,
brother and
God. Thank
sister's
you, God. Thank you,
signs.
God. Thank you, God.
We don't, that's not our call. We're not supposed to ignore. We're supposed to pray. But there's nothing wrong with, hey, are you okay? Is there something? We can't keep turning our back on our own, not other, our own. Even in our own homes. Sometimes we just let them in. They've been in the room 2 or 3 days, and we just leave them there.
Yep.
We don't even check on them.
Or laugh at
So
them.
they're in the room, they just laying there. We like, oh well, that's they just going through or whatever. But what if that last day is the day that they wanted to say, you know what? Evidently, I'm in this by myself.
Wow.
I'm going to end it all today. Now you're left feeling emotional. It's not spiritual. You're emotional because of something that you could have literally prevented had you just not, hey, everything okay? You want to talk? You want something to eat, or anything? We've got to stop ignoring our own homes for
And
the sake of trying to hide responsibility.
and when we go to responsibility, I think about when we were talking about community, right? And who's responsible for what? People go to school because the school is responsible for your education, right? Home is responsible for your education as well as feeding you, clothing you, making sure that
Mhm.
you are a productive citizen.
Yeah.
Church, for those of us that attend church, the church is responsible for your soul, for your mind, for your spirit, in the form of getting the information to you that you need. You are accountable to accept it, you are accountable to live it, but the church is set up to provide it to you, same as school, correct? If you are a church leader, pastor especially, and you do not have a mental illness ministry, being counseling, therapy, I really want you to sit down with the trustee department, with whoever else is on your board, That's the business side of the church, but the spiritual and the mental side of your church. So it brings us to this question. Is the church at fault for not having programs in place to help the mental ill, the people that are dealing with things? And to be called mental ill, or to say I have a mental illness, again, is not to be laughed at. It's not to say, oh man, that person crazy. No, we're talking about depression. We're talking about, like I said, being bipolar. There are many functioning people that take a pill once a day or however many times a day that deal with being bipolar. It is okay. You do not have a demon in you. It's nothing wrong with you. If you
Yes, ma'am,
are
Kamita. Sorry.
if you are a part of a church, I want you to start looking for certain things. Mental illness should be on that list. Does my church care about the congregation enough to have that as one of the services that it offers? Which we'll get there, because there is a spiritual connection to everything that we're facing right now, especially if you are a believer and you live by the Holy Bible. You got to know that mental illness is a part of that. There is someone in the Bible that even committed suicide.
Yes,
The
there
church was
is.
a part of that too. So we're going to get into all of that on part
Yeah,
two. Part
yeah.
two, Brian, you already about to be late for your studio session. And it's not
I'm not.
because we don't care about, we care about our people, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like when I hit finish, I gotta shout that I gotta give God for the person that texts me. Because to God be the glory for that right there. I rejoice in that because someone felt like giving up. And because my brother, Minister Brian, said, Mill, I'll give you some time before I go to the studio. Thank you, brother. Because I didn't tell him, yeah, bro, let's just go ahead so I can spend time with Samaya. I can go watch this Malcolm X documentary. You know how much I love Malcolm X. No, I
Yes.
said, I am going to get on here and we're going to speak on this topic.
Right.
Allow God to lead you, especially if you are a spiritual leader. You will find yourself doing things and you don't know why you're doing them. Do it. It does not have to cost. It does not have to cost for you to receive anything either. I'm not getting paid by being on here. I don't want to get paid by being on here. The whole thing is God is being pleased with my service, that I just want to see people live a better life. And
Yeah.
honestly, brother, it's sympathy and empathy. I know what it feels like to feel hopeless and to be smiling and not wanting to admit that you're broken and you're weak, because you know your family is going to talk about you. You know that your close friends are not going to understand you. And rather than receiving you with arms around you, they will be doing this with a smile and saying they're just joking, but they're really pushing you away. I lived it. God delivered me from it. Who am I to just sit over here in my little happy little life and act as if like it was my goodness that did this? No, 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 no. Let no man boast. You can't boast about how good you've been. You can't boast about how much tithe you pay. Out, don't none of that matters in the eyesight of God if your heart is filthy. None of that matters. And Millie, what shows if you got a good heart? What you do when people are not watching? What you do when you're not earning money from it? That's what determines if your heart is good or not.
Yeah.
And only God knows that, because only God sees you when people are not watching. He knows
Yeah.
it. But what shows it is the words that come out of your mouth. So we are on here because we care. I just had to say that, bro, because I mean, I thank you for
Yeah.
giving this time to the Real with Mill tonight. Real talk. Like, I know you got to go to the
Come on,
studio
man.
session. And if they want to
You
fuss, you know, you
listen.
can give them my number. They can fuss at me. You know, it's fine.
No, but you know what? Here's my thing. And I'll get there. But some things are more important. You know what I'm saying? And I can take time. I'm really learning about dealing with and learning what's important. Um, yeah, sessions and all that stuff.
Wow.
It's
Praise
wonderful,
God. Praise
wonderful to
God, you
do.
all.
Um, but this is something that is so real. and that hits home, because I think if we all that are even on this live can look back over our lives, at some point in our lives, we wanted to give up. We just wanted to give up. I know I've done it. I was there. I was literally there. Um, so, I'm just imploring, those of us that have been through it, everyone here is either one or two things, a son or daughter or a parent. And when you think of it like that, everyone is either a son or daughter or a parent. We should be able to walk in love, but in kindness, in not empathy, because empathy is too business. Sympathy, because sympathy is from the heart. Empathy is surface. It's just a spiel that you give a person just to say, okay. But sympathy is from the heart, that I understand your situation. We can be more open with that, and be kinder, understand more. I think that we have a chance that if we save one life, if we save, just like tonight, I thank God for that.
Man.
But if we can just one at a time,
thank you, God.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you,
Man,
God.
all glory, all glory.
Whew,
So
thank you, God.
I'm gonna get out of here. I love y'all, everybody that's on here.
I love you, brother.
Someone.
There is a
Love
part
you.
2 coming, and we are going to discuss, and we're gonna dive deep. My brother's not gonna have a studio session. It's not gonna be on a weekday. I'm not gonna have work to think about for the next day. However, we are going to dive into the church's role in dealing with mental illness. And we are even go ahead, sir. I'm
what
sorry.
Did we say? Didn't we say, is it the church's responsibility to assist in mental health? Was that what we said?
Something like that.
Is it the church's responsibility to assist in mental health?
Yes.
Which is yes.
It is.
But we'll get
and we also are going to talk about the person in the Bible that actually committed suicide. And I want to give you this. It's not the obvious. It's not the obvious. Just want to say that. So, until we meet again, you all continue to allow God to lead you, hear his voice, and obey his command. Know that you are loved beyond measure. If and when the suicide spirit or idea comes to your mind, please call up one of us. Send us a message. Please allow us to remind you how your life is so worth living. You have so much that's attached to you that, okay, I'm going to get into part 2. It's too much attached to you for you to give up. You're loved too much for you to give up. Please.
We've got a counselor, another one, Dr. Kamita Washington.
Yeah, she's a doctor. Dr. Washington. She's been commenting on there too. And you also can reach out to her via inbox.
So listen,
get a session scheduled.
If we can't help, so I'll preface this: we're not therapists, we're not licensed in that. We're talking about from experience and understanding.
Yes, sir.
If you need help, we will seek it. We will try to find you the right people. We've got a network. You know what I'm saying? We've got a network. If you need help,
you have a doctor, Dr. Washington. I am a counselor, school counselor. We are ministers. This is what we do. And you also have this number. You have 1-800-273-8255. If you don't feel comfortable with communicating or contacting any of the three of us, you have 1-800-273-8255. I will put the number in the thread for whoever needs it. Your secret is going to be safe with someone. As long as you're receiving the confidence and the truth and the fact that you are loved and you are valued and your life is worth living. That's all that you need to know. We're going to start right there.
We want you healthy and living.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brian. I love you so much. Part 2 is coming very, very soon, within the next 7 days, probably even Saturday. Who knows? All right. We love you all. Go with God and go in grace. Bye-bye.
All right.